Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to be setting up Liferay for the first time so that we can use Liferay to take a look at our use case, the Livingstone Hotels and Resorts platform. Let's go ahead and get started. As always, feel free to pause the video, speed it up, or slow it down as you need to. So first things first, here on my Windows machine, I'm going to head over to my file directory, and we're going to head over to the C drive. Now, I did some setup before the beginning of this video. That's where we're going to see some of the things already created. So first step, we're going to be creating a Liferay folder. So I've created that folder already. And inside of that Liferay folder, we're also going to be creating a bundles folder. At the same time, feel free to take your activation key as well as your exercises and put it here within the Liferay folder as well. That way, everything that you need is in one place. One thing that I like to do, while it's not a formal thing in the exercises, is within the bundles folder, I like to put the actual compressed file of the bundle here. That way, if I need to spin up more instances of Liferay or another instance of Liferay really quickly, it's already here made available for me. So that's just my personal preference. So let's go ahead and unzip our instance of Liferay. So for you Windows users, you're going to want to make sure you're using a third-party unzipping tool, something like 7-zip or WinZip or WinRAR. Windows default is pretty slow. We want to be able to get things up very quickly. As you can see during that explanation, it's already done. Let's go ahead and start up Liferay for the first time. For you guys on Mac and Linux, the startup process is a little bit different, so feel free to refer to the instructions to see that startup process. So for us on Windows, let's head into that Liferay DXP folder. We're going to head over to the Tomcat folder. That's what's running Liferay. Within Tomcat, we'll head over to the bin folder. And then from bin, let's scroll down looking for startup.bat. If you don't have your file extensions displaying, you're going to want to look for that Windows batch folder, as you can see over here on the right-hand side. Once you have found it, go ahead and double-click it. And then we're going to wait. Now there's a couple of prereq steps that we don't talk about here in this video. You're going to want to make sure you have Java JDK 11 installed. You're also going to want to make sure you have the Java home variable set. Otherwise, if you do not, you're going to see a black screen kind of flash really quickly. If that's what's happened to you, that's a very strong indication that we need to configure Java. Either install it or have it pointing over to Java home. So in the meantime, we'll go ahead and wait a few moments for Liferay to start up for the first time. It does take a few minutes. Feel free to pause the video and wait. All right, very good. Now that Liferay has finally started up on my end, you should see a basic configuration screen just like mine once Liferay starts up on your end. Now, typically, if I'm doing this training on my own or in person, I take some creative liberties along the way. I'll point those out as I go through them. So first things first, we want to name our portal. So the portal name is going to be Livingstone Hotels using the ampersand and resorts. As you can see, I've done this a couple of times. Now, if you want to make things easier on yourself, over here on the right-hand side with administrator user, you can leave everything as is. Test at liferay.com. I'm following along with the book though. I'm going to change things up. So the administrator for the Livingstone Hotels and Resorts, his name is Josiah. His last name is going to be Copland. And we're going to change the email to reflect that. So josiah.copland@livingstone.com. Again, feel free to use test@liferay.com. It makes things much easier. But if you want to play along, right, immerse yourself within the use case, you can use those josiah.copland as well. Let's go ahead and finish configuration. All right, I need to deploy the activation key. So let's head back over to our file directory. So over here in my C drive, followed by Liferay. This is where I have my activation key. Again, wherever it is for you, go ahead and find it, and then we're going to copy. So I'll use Control C as in Charlie, head over to the bundles folder, head into our Liferay DXP, followed by deploy. From here, make sure again that you copied the file, and then we're going to paste it. You're going to see after a few moments, the file is going to disappear. So this is why we copy and paste, so we don't lose the file. Once it's deployed, give it a few moments, 5 to 10 seconds, jump back over to your web browser that opened up, and then you can refresh the page. Once you refresh the page, you should see this splash screen here. So very good. If this is your first time starting up Liferay, congratulations. This can be one of the most difficult steps, believe it or not. So very good if you are here along with me. All right, let's keep on going. Next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be deploying a theme, right? It's going to be adding branding to our Liferay instance so it looks more like the Livingstone Hotel and Resorts. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and sign in josiah.coplin, and then this is at Livingstone. You can see how this can be a little bit more difficult. The default password is going to be test, right? I agree, right? It's a placeholder. If we cannot use test, since that's the current password, I use test followed by the number 1. I'm going to go ahead and save. I've always liked to write my own question. This is kind of a dummy thing. You don't need to do this if you don't want to. What is your quest? And then my quest, right? It's not only just to teach Liferay, to get you where you need to go, but my quest really is to seek the Holy Grail. So I've always liked to just do that for fun. So here we are in our Liferay instance. We have finally finished the basic configuration. Let's go ahead and deploy that theme. So there's a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to do this following along with the instructions. So opening up our panel, heading over to the control panel, followed by apps, and then app manager. As another heads up, sometimes I say book. Most of the time, when I do say book, I'm referring to the instructions within that instruction panel. So excuse me if I'm misspeaking there. So from here, we're going to head over to the options and then upload. From upload, we'll click on the browse or choose file depending on which web browser you're using. Brings you to your file explorer. And then let's head over to where we have our exercises. For me, the exercises are within that Liferay folder, inside the exercises 01, and then selecting that Livingstone Fjord theme. It's going to be a WAR file. And then let's go ahead and click install. We're going to give it a few moments here. If you want to track the progress, you can take a look within this little cup of coffee, right? You're always going to want to keep this up and running. If you close this, you effectively shut down Liferay. So you're going to want to keep this at the very least in the background. But if you never want to look at this again, just go ahead and minimize. So for a lot of us, this might be, a lot of information. But the thing I'm looking for specifically is that started Livingstone Fjord theme. Once I see that, that's a very strong, a very good indicator that the theme has been deployed successfully. All right, so very good. Right, and the last step, if you want to do this right away, is to add the theme to the main site. We'll eventually do that later, but if you want to jump ahead, feel free to do so. We have a number of bonus exercises as well. Feel free to tackle those at your leisure. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine as well. So that wraps it up for our first exercise, and I will see you in the next video.